African Americans could then go to white institutions for insurance and banking. Consequently, Atlanta Life Insurance Company, had problems. Citizens Trust Bank. The black banks are not as prosperous on a per capita basis as they were back before desegregation. Auburn Avenue was the center of black businesses. Hunter Street at the time, on the west side, where our office was the other center for black businesses. When desegregation came along, those businesses today are no longer there. So we're now going through a whole revitalization effort to try to bring back some of the historical characteristics that exist on those major streets. And it's been a challenge. But had not for Martin Luther King and the other civil rights leaders, we wouldn't have gotten to desegregation to the degree that we did, I don't think. But you've got pluses and minuses on the whole issue of desegregation.
Were there any other benchmark activities that you can remember that really kind of stand out in your mind with the student movement that just, in your opinion, were a possible turning point?
I think the student movement, in terms of the folks who participated in it, not as diligently as some of the other folks, like Julian Bond and the others, and of course Lonnie King. They were hands-on, every day, 24/7 involved in the civil rights movement. I can't claim that. I was not. I was trying to get out of school, got out of Morehouse. So there were some other priorities that I had. But I think that what the student movement did is that it allowed us, when I finished Morehouse, I went to work for a Fortune 500 company in New York. All white, I was the only black person there. My experiences in the civil rights movement allowed me to articulate to the people who I worked with, the white folks, what the student movement was all about. It was not a bunch of radicals trying to tear up stores and riot in the streets. That was not what it was all about, which is what a northern person, white person's perspective probably was. Me, coming up from Atlanta, they want to know, well, what was it like, So those of us who went on to work in Washington, I worked for Robert Weaver, who was the first black secretary of HUD. I worked in his administration in Washington. He was appointed by Lyndon Johnson. That I think was a trailblazing phenomenon, that Lyndon Johnson appointed a black guy to be a cabinet member. But as I talked to the folk at HUD, when I was working there, and they knew I was from Atlanta, I was able to, I think, successfully articulate what the civil rights movement was about. So those of us, who went to various and sundry jobs and various and sundry environments, were able to explain what it was all about. I couldn't have done that if I hadn't been involved in it to some degree.
Let's talk a little bit about in your opinion, were the college faculty supportive of the student movement? Because everyone has a different take on that.
Well, I don't remember talking to my professors about it too much. They just wanted me to pass their class. Benjamin E. Mays was president of Morehouse at the time, and of course Benjamin Mays understood what the movement was about. Now whether that conveyed to his faculty, I honestly don't know. I didn't get any pushback. If we were not in class for some particular reason, I was not penalized for not being there. So, faculty members didn't participate necessarily. The president of the college endorsed it. Manley was president at Spelman. His charge was to protect the women at school. We didn't have a lot of women, to tell you the truth, we didn't have a lot of women from Spelman, as I remember, participating in the movement. you know. At Atlanta University in Clark, you did have some. But the Spelman women were pretty much, well, they were isolated anyway, you know, because they had curfews, there were various and sundry things